Hello, everyone, and welcome to your top 5 to stay alive for March 2017. This is Dr. Harry, and I have a special treat for you. For those of you who do not know, who haven't visited the website recently, which is healthguardian.com, we have a new flavor of the Cardio for Life. So besides grape, orange, and peach, we now also have, wait for it, pina colada. That's right. It's 30-some degrees here in Chicago, snowing a little bit, but you know what? That tropical flavor, pineapple, a little bit of coconut, pina colada. I think it was a famous philosopher or poet who said, "If you like pina colada," oh yes I do. In fact, I drink one of these every night while I'm watching TV. I sip on it. It is delicious. Nutrition never tasted so good. And now, ladies and gentlemen, without further delay, let's get started on your top 5 to stay alive. Topic number 1. Imagine the terrifying thought of being told you have Alzheimer's disease. You realize that you'll slowly be robbed of your precious memories, your independence, and eventually your life. Now imagine finding out it was all a big mistake, a bad dream. You really didn't have Alzheimer's after all. Well, that may be happening to hundreds of thousands of Americans, and many of them have become sitting ducks for the devastating diagnosis simply because they were taking a certain drug or drugs, or even had a very common condition left untreated. It's an urgent warning for anyone who may be experiencing memory loss, but you need to know the facts now before it's too late. The statistics are sobering. The Alzheimer's Association tells us that by the time you finish reading this or listening to this, someone else in the U.S. will have Alzheimer's disease. We're told that over 5 million Americans have already been diagnosed, but Canadian researchers from the Keenan Research Center for Biomedical Science in Toronto have just uncovered some startling new findings. By analyzing the data on over 1,000 people collected by the National Alzheimer's Association Center, they discovered that it's possible close to 11% of those told by their doctors they had Alzheimer's did not have it. Let me repeat that. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of Americans getting this heartbreaking diagnosis who most likely never had Alzheimer's disease. But how is it possible that so many mistakes could be made? First, diagnosing Alzheimer's isn't based on some brain scan or blood test. It's a judgment call made by your doctor based entirely on symptoms, like memory loss. And there are numerous things other than the disease itself that can cause those symptoms. And if you're wondering how the researchers were so sure of their conclusions, well, they looked at the only thing that can say with any real accuracy that someone had Alzheimer's, and that's an autopsy. The NACC, which is funded by the National Institute of Aging, maintains thousands of brain tissue samples from over 200 NIA-funded Alzheimer's centers in the U.S. that Canadians use for their study. So what was really wrong with all those patients given that false diagnosis? The Canadian researchers said that they probably had other types of dementia that looked just like Alzheimer's, and that could be true. However, there are well over 100 drugs, both over-the-counter and prescribed, with side effects that can make some appear to be textbook Alzheimer's cases. Some of the most common ones include, I'm going to kill this, benzodiazepines or whatever. Benzos, what are referred to, which would be Xanax and Valium. How about antihistamines such as Benadryl, sleeping pills such as Ambien, statins such as Lipitor, acid reflux med like Prilosec, Nexium, also Zantac, blood pressure and heart drugs like Procardia and Vasodilan, meds for incontinence such as Detrol, drugs for Parkinson's, as well as tranquilizers and older classes of antidepressants. And I'm not talking about causing just a little forgetfulness either. Gary Kennedy, who is chief of geriatric psychiatry at New York's Montefiore Medical Center, says that he's been referred patients with a clear history of dementia, but when he started to peel back the medications like an onion, they began improving. Another specialist said that every Alzheimer's expert living today has been fooled. On top of that, musician Chris Christopherson has been told for years by his doctors that he had Alzheimer's, only to be cured of it when he finally got treatment for Lyme disease. And one neurosurgeon who has treated Alzheimer's patients by draining excess fluid buildup in the brain for a condition called NPH said, "I've seen patients go from about to enter a nursing home to playing golf again and traveling." The bottom line is that if you or someone you love has been told they have Alzheimer's, it's vital to stop, take a deep breath, and see if something else might be the cause while you still can. Topic number 2. It's a drug that should have been dead in the water years ago, but now Big Pharma is prowling for more millions of new customers instead. For years, I've been warning you about the dangers of Celebrex, Pfizer's blockbuster arthritis drug. It keeps selling like hotcakes, even though it's been linked to deadly heart attacks and strokes. Now, researchers with deep drug company ties are claiming Celebrex could be the next cure for cancer. It's a move that will put countless cancer patients in harm's way, and it's built on a big lie that Big Pharma doesn't want you to know about. But now, Celebrex has seen the inside of a courtroom more than Judge Judy. Pfizer has paid millions to settle lawsuits over the drug, including $164 million to its own shareholders over allegations that it misrepresented how safe it is. And Celebrex is the only COX-2 inhibitor left on the market after its close relatives Vioxx and Bextra were withdrawn because of heart attacks and heart attack risks. You'd think Celebrex's long rap sheet would be enough for both doctors and patients to steer clear of it, but now the Scripps Research Institute is touting Celebrex as a possible cancer cure. A cancer med that could cause heart attacks or strokes. I mean, what could go wrong with that? In a laboratory study, Scripps researchers said the drug slowed the rate of a specific cancer in animals, and they have high hopes it will do the same thing for other kinds of tumors. One article is already calling it a potential cancer treatment. But if you scratch a little below the surface, you'll find out that Scripps has a long and profitable relationship with Big Pharma, and most especially with Celebrex makers Pfizer. In 2006, Pfizer donated $100 million to the Institute in exchange for the first rights to almost half of the discovery Scripps made using the money. When the $100 million licensing agreement with Pfizer had expired, the Scripps Vice President of Business Development was quick to say that the Institute will continue to collaborate with the drug maker in undisclosed areas. Well, I think we just learned what those undisclosed areas are. And the notion that Celebrex is some great new cancer cure isn't just a lie, it's a dangerous one that could put plenty of lives at risk. 2 cancer studies done over 10 years ago had to be stopped because the heart risks were so high. Several years later, a study to find out if Celebrex could prevent colon polyps instead discovered that the drug could double the risk of serious heart problems. But like I said, none of this seems to be stopping the Celebrex gravy train one bit. It's still raking in billions in sales, and just 2 years ago the FDA approved the generic version of Celebrex that will soon hit the store shelf. The real risk here is that doctors will start using Celebrex or its generic right away, off-label on cancer patients, figuring it couldn't hurt. But the truth is Celebrex isn't safe for arthritis, cancer, or any other use Big Pharma dreams up. That's a lesson that many innocent people have learned, too many innocent, the hard way, and it's important to make sure that you or someone you love isn't next. Topic number 3. I'm sure you would never in a million years give a deadly poison to a child. Yet several years ago, the FDA found trace amounts of antifreeze, 2 types of chemicals, when examined some batches of the popular over-the-counter laxative Miralax, a drug many pediatricians use as long-term solution for childhood constipation. I have a number of grandchildren, 5 of them, and constipation is a constant problem, especially when they don't eat right. If you think they must have immediately called this product and stripped it off the shelves, well, it wasn't. Doctors continued telling parents to give the drug to children, even toddlers. It's safe, give it to toddlers. And to this day, they still are. But where the Miralax is concerned, those shocking findings aren't even the worst of it. The outcry about what the Miralax active ingredient, PEG 3350, also called polyethylene glycol, may be doing to kids has just about reached the boiling point. One example is a Facebook group with over 12,000 members set up to warn other parents and grandparents about it, called Parents Against Miralax. On top of that, it says a worried mother does better research than the FBI, and I might add, better than the FDA. For over a decade now, parents and doctors have been sending in frightening reports to the FDA about aggression, rage, mood swings, paranoia, and manic events in children, many just toddlers after taking the drug. Nicole Orkovitz was given Miralax when she was 3, and after taking it for a little over a week, she turned manic and aggressive. Sadly, although Nicole is now 19, she is still not completely back to normal, according to her mom, Jeannie Ward. I think they are poisoning our children, Ward said. Jessica Emin, another Miralax mod, said the drug caused her son to be robbed of most of his childhood. Still another described her daughter developed weird tics after taking it. Ward was part of a petition sent into the FDA demanding an investigation be done. Of course. And years later, the agency finally gave the job to the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, where it said is currently ongoing. But that may be the day late and a dollar short for the untold numbers of children. Back in 2009, the FDA conducted a so-called investigation into Miralax, and although it put the laxative on a list of drugs that have potential signals of serious risk, it added no action needs to be taken at this time. And that's where it still sits today, despite the fact the FDA scientists discovered some samples contain trace amounts of highly toxic chemicals that are used in antifreeze. 1-ethylene glycol is responsible for poisoning thousands of animals every year to antifreeze leaks from the cars. In fact, it only takes a teaspoon of it to kill a cat. Of course, those chemicals aren't supposed to be in there. The FDA said they ended up in Miralax due to impurities that were caused by manufacturing process. In other words, whoops. Look, I don't care how these antifreeze chemicals got in there. Obviously, something is going on here, and the FDA is dragging its feet like it's stuck in molasses. To top off this incredible dangerous situation for kids, some pediatricians have no qualms about keeping their patients on Miralax for years. And that's despite the fact that the label says it shouldn't be given to anyone under 17 and for no longer than a week. Let me repeat that. No one under 17 and no longer than a week. Certainly, a child who can't go needs help, but with everything we now know about Miralax, it obviously isn't worth the risk. But if a child you love is currently taking Miralax or a generic version like Powderlax, Clearlax, Smoothlax, and so on, you should know that doctors advise not to stop them cold turkey, but slowly reduce the dosage. Along with the usual advice to up the fiber, water, and exercise, experts say these tips can move things along. Number 1, try to establish a bathroom routine at the same time every day to help them get in the habit of going. Number 2, if a child's constipation is chronic, a pediatrician should investigate possible problems in the colon. thyroid issues, even food allergies. Number 3, try cutting down on dairy products while increasing the pea foods like prunes, pears, plums, and peaches. Number 4, give them my Cleanse product. Plenty of fiber and probiotics. If they won't drink it, mix it in with the applesauce or Jell-O. You can take it safely every day, but I would take 1 day off per week to allow the colon, which is a muscle, to acclimate. These tips will help get grown-ups back on track too, because kids aren't the only ones who shouldn't be taking antifreeze. Topic number 4. This one blew me away. A new study published in the Journal of Neuroimmunology entitled Effect of Radiofrequency Radiation from Wi-Fi Devices on Mercury Release from Amalgam Restorations reveals that our now exposure to Wi-Fi radiation may be amplifying the toxicity of dental amalgams and other forms of mercury exposure to the human body. Brazilian researchers, in what appears to be the first study of its kind, looked specifically at the potential for Wi-Fi signals to increase the release of mercury from dental amalgams, which are compound of approximately 50% elemental mercury. The highly controlled method researchers used was to recreate amalgam-filled teeth using standard protocols and in storing them in saline solution at 37 degrees centigrade for 14 days. The 14-day period was chosen because the previous research has revealed mercury is released from amalgam restorations at gradually decreasing amounts to a constant level 14 days after the filling. Afterwards, and before exposing the teeth to Wi-Fi signals, samples were poured into plastic tubes filled with artificial saliva, where'd they get that, and at 1.5 centimeter thickness to mimic soft tissue. Next, the researchers divided the teeth randomly into 2 groups of 10. The specimens in the experimental group were exposed to radiofrequency radiation emitted from standard Wi-Fi devices at 2.4 gigahertz for 20 minutes. The distance between the Wi-Fi router and the samples was 30 centimeters, and the router was exchanging data with a laptop computer that was placed 20 meters away from the router. The control group were not exposed to the Wi-Fi. The results statistically significant, with the mean concentration of mercury in the Wi-Fi group about twice that of the control group. The authors concluded exposures of patients with amalgam restorations to radiofrequency radiation emitted from conventional Wi-Fi devices can increase mercury release from amalgam restorations. In the discussion section of their paper, they point to the previous research that has also found exposure to both MRI and microwave radiation from cell phones also produce increased release of mercury from dental amalgam. Probably the most important thing you can do to benefit the health of your nervous system and brain is professionally get rid of all silver amalgams in your mouth. I did this many years ago, because it is also well documented that every time you chew on a filling, mercury vapor is released into your bloodstream, and over time that will do serious damage to your brain and nervous system. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, topic number 5. You can't always judge a book by its cover, and that goes for a magazine as well. The September 6, 2016 issue of Japan's edition of Newsweek contains a very important, very positive article on intravenous vitamin C against cancer. IV vitamin C specialist Atsuru Yaganasawa, I'm probably butchering that, MD, PhD, is spotlighted, and his rationale, procedures, and dosages are discussed in welcome detail. If you have a family member or friend who is fighting cancer, this article is essential reading. Just get past the cover and read the full text, translated into English free of charge. Dr. Yanagasawa says the vitamin C used in the treatment is highly concentrated, is given in 50 to 100 gram doses, which is really equivalent to about 2,000 to 5,000 lemons. You can do that every day. introduced into the vein, not orally, but via an IV infusion, raising the vitamin C concentration in the blood by a huge amount. More and more cases are using a combination of chemotherapy and high-dose IV vitamin C therapy. Using this therapy to assist other treatments gets great results. Furthermore, he adds, we know that high-dose IV vitamin C therapy is very effective against just about all forms of cancer. A considerable number of patients say that their pain has also been greatly reduced. One person having trouble breathing due to lung cancer found that their coughing subsided after one infusion, which surprised both the patient and the family. So, you can learn more. Newsweek has included a reference listing of over 20 recent and current research studies. The magazine's editorial stance is right on the mark. We need to at least know about the existence of high-dose IV vitamin C therapy. By publishing this life-saving information, Japan's Newsweek has done all of us a favor. I get questioned all the time on what someone could do in fighting cancer that does not take the traditional allopathic course of chemotherapy or radiation. I always advocate large-dose IV vitamin C therapy. If you know someone who would like more information on this form of fighting cancer, email me and I will send you studies supporting this form of cancer. I will help you find a doctor to administer the IV as well as a way to do large-dose vitamin C without IV. And that concludes our top 5. Let's move on to our testimonies, and we've been getting a lot of them lately. Testimony number 1. Dr. Harry, Cardio for Life is one product we sure wouldn't like to be without. My husband had a heart attack a few years ago. Of course, he was put on cholesterol-lowering drugs, which they had to stop shortly after due to muscle pain and weakness, which 50% of people experience. He was also on blood pressure medication and an aspirin a day. 3 months later, on Christmas Eve, he ended up in the emergency with acute pancreatitis. He decided to go off all medications, and the doctors were not pleased. We have used Cardio for Life since, and he feels great. Thank you so much, Dr. Harry. That's Britta from Canada. Testimony number 2. My blood pressure is 117/77. Cholesterol is 176, and my feet and hands are warm all the time. I always get asked, what do you do about cold hands? Since 2008, I had 4 blood clots and a stroke, but after starting Cardio for Life, I have quit taking Plavix, a statin drug, lisinopril for my blood pressure. I am convinced that I would probably be dead if it wasn't for Cardio for Life. Y'all sure did the product right. By the way, I am 71 years young. Thank you for that, Charlie. Number 3, I have been taking Cardio for Life since 2011, and now I'm no longer on cholesterol meds, blood thinners meds, thyroid meds, or blood pressure meds. It took some arm twisting, but my doctor allowed me to go off all for 9 months, and then did the blood work, and it was perfect. I am 65 and had 2 stents put in my legs in 2011, and was told I would be back in 2 years to have more put in, since they did have major blockage, and stents oftentimes fail after 2 years. In 2015, I did all the tests again, and the cardiologist said, we must have missed something, because I must have misread them tests, because all the blockages are now less than they were 3 years ago. Thank you for recommending Cardio for Life. Oh, that's Bill. Thank you. Number 4, Cardio for Life is a lifesaver. I had a heart attack damage from a heart attack just over 5 years ago. I took the usual meds, which caused more issues, and I still had episodes of angina or chest pain. After a severe heart attack in 2014 with more blockages, I started on Cardio for Life. After 3 years, no meds, no angina. Still get a little discomfort every once in a while, but it's manageable. I repeat, this is a real lifesaver. Well, thanks for that, Roy. And finally, hey, Dr. Harry. First, let me say that I really like your Thermomax. I used it twice Tuesday, and then again when I went to bed. I woke up for the first time Wednesday morning with no back pain, and the pain didn't come back all day. Yeehaw! Well, thanks for that, Monty. And there you have it. Cardio for Life, Cleanse, Flex, Thermomax, they all help on pain. They help keep your arteries nice and pliable, nice and clean, and they work, people. So spread the word. And remember this. If you like pina colada, or walking in the, I forget, rain, I guess. I'm telling you, it tastes just like a virgin pina colada. I'm sure if you crushed some ice and poured it in and mixed it up, people wouldn't even know the difference. As far as putting a little Bacardi in there, I'm not against it. It's actually a good vasodilator, anything in moderation. But a virgin pina colada, nothing wrong with it. I'm telling you, it tastes great. And that concludes our top 5 to stay alive. Stay alive and enjoy life. And this is Dr. Harry saying, God bless you all.